I'm glad people are successfully joining.
Wait.
Are you just going to do an admit all, or what do you want to do, Grant?
Yeah, go ahead and admit all.
Okay, I just press the button.
Yeah, they should all be legit. Don't forget to tell people about the live transcript. All right.
Right.
And also tell them about that there will be 2 interpreters who will have interpreter in front of their name, 2 ASL interpreters.
Oh, Jesse, you've got the ASL interpreters.
I think you have to do it. I think you have to do it as host.
Yeah, Ben, you have to do it.
Yeah,
It's very hard to do this as people.
So
are
just search at the
in.
top for their name. It's easier than
Yeah.
scrolling the list.
Okay, so that's Shirley and make co-host. And oh yes, search. That's the way to do it. Thank you. I'm not seeing Jan Nishimura.
She may not be in yet.
Okay.
Okay, I want that turned off.
Big shout out to Barry Wallace in Oceanside. Hi, Barry. Barry's one of the volunteers for the Away with Words, the radio show I co-host. He keeps our Facebook group from exploding.
Good person to have.
Hey, Grant, I'm trying to pin. Nope, never mind. I see you.
Who's Blake Zimmer?
Oh, trouble. Block him.
This super mature teenager, I've heard.
He's like 100 feet tall. Last time I saw him, he's probably even taller now.
He will be taller than me soon.
Hi,
Yeah, my
Lucy
son is
Thomason.
My son is going to pass me this year. He's already over 6 feet. He's 4.
Oh yeah,
It's impossible.
All the pictures I got through.
Oh, hi, Mark Allen. Yeah, Mark Allen. Daniel Midgley from Down Under. Yeah, what is it? About 9 a.m. there.
Hello, Daniel. Because Dan.
And Gretchen McCulloch. Got to say hi to Gretchen. Thank you for linking the nominations, Gretchen. Really appreciate that.
Sabria Fisher.
Yeah, if you're someplace, just by the way, just go ahead and say where you're coming from in the chat. I love seeing that. Just everybody popping up from wherever. I'm in San Diego, by the way. It is not warm here today.
We've got snow here in Jersey City, although now it's melting.
They closed schools and daycares today in Tennessee for the bare roads. I am judging them in Michigander.
Costa Rica, la vida pura. South Dakota in the house.
Coming in from all over. All right, well.
Yeah,
we'll
Utah.
keep
More than a
streaming
few
into the
in
waiting
Utah.
room. So.
Yeah, like Barry says, we set a record for consecutive days under 70 degrees in San Diego. I know it's like complaining. It was in the 50s, but it got down in the 40s at night, and that's cold. They don't insulate houses here because it's California. So why insulate your houses? So it's just like cold in the house. And there's no central heat. They don't put central heat in most houses. Madison, Wisconsin. Hello. Marina Del Rey, Newport News. Very cold and snowy Kentucky. I'm sorry, Jennifer. Martha Wales. Hello, Martha. Portland. Just rain. That's unusual. And Eugene, snowy. Boy, we could just make a weather map with all these reports we're getting.
DC with the diabolical big snow. I love that. I feel like we assembled the 3 horsemen of the apocalypse for this annual meeting.
We're about to vote. We're about to
really?
vote on the 4th one. 6 inches of snow in Pennington, New Jersey. Is that wow? That's crazy.
Just saw John
Blake-
Bacos.
Hi, Felicia.
Blake, are you snowed in? Make sure you charge all your devices so if the power goes out, you can still have your switch.
It's not that bad. We just got like, a couple of inches. It's not gonna be a big deal. Blake will be fine.
Ben is hosting today, but I just want to welcome everyone and thank you for joining our impromptu conference. We would have loved to see everyone face to face in Washington, D.C., but we are so glad to have such a large turnout for our second annual online Word of the Year event. So really excited to see you here. We're sorry there's no polar vortices, Gretchen. We thought that you being in Canada, that was your responsibility. Weren't you supposed to provide the polar vortices?
So we're still getting folks coming in from the waiting room.
Hello, New
Can my
York
co-hosts
City.
also admit people from the waiting room, or is that only something I can do? as
Yeah,
host?
I've been doing it.
Yes.
I've been hitting them
okay.
whenever
All right.
I can. We're all doing it. It was like they're
Okay,
coming
good.
in
So I don't
fast and
have to be-
furious.
I don't have to be compulsively doing it myself.
No, you can
Okay.
do some of your welcome chat now if you want.
Okay, as people stream in, we might as well get started because we do want to keep to a relatively tight schedule, not quite as shaggy and shambolic as last year, for those of who joined. So, but thank you all, everyone who is here. We've got about 300 or so people already, more on the way. So thanks to all of you for registering to join. Thank you all for the nominations that you sent in. Thanks to those of you who participated in our nominating session yesterday evening. We've got lots of great nominations and we're able to sort of fill out all the categories. We can drop a link to that in the chat as well if you haven't seen that, but you will also be seeing it on the screen as well. So don't worry, you'll be able to see all the nominations that we have that we'll be going through this evening. I should give some other thanks too, just to the American Dialect Society. I don't know if Julie is here yet. Okay, Julie Roberts, Executive Director, is with us. We had to pivot quickly to do everything via Zoom, and it's worked out relatively okay. And this part, of course, Word of the Year, we had practice with from doing it this way last year as a standalone event. So we were able to draw on our experience, use that as a kind of a template, and I think we'll have a good discussion and vote this year, similar to how we did it last year, with a few changes. Let me introduce some of the people that you see here. So you already heard from Grant. Grant Barrett is Vice President of Communications and Technology for the American Dialect Society. He's also the co-host and co-producer of Away with Words, great radio show / podcast. And we have Away with Words to thank for hosting this Zoom meeting, as well as the ADS sessions when we did this big pivot for our society. Grant was instrumental in making sure that this would all work on Zoom. So thanks so much for that. And let me introduce the rest of our crew here. Moderating our discussion will be Dr. Jesse Greaser and Kelly Wright, who you see. Kelly is also the co-editor of Among the New Words, the feature in American Speech that she works on with Charles Carson and me. And we're also giving Kelly a new title now of Data Czar, because she was the one who compiled all the nominations that we've been receiving via the Eventbrite registration forms, the emails, and the tweets. She created this awesome spreadsheet that was very helpful in filling out the categories with nominations. So we also have Charles Carson, managing editor of American Speech. And as I mentioned, he's a co-editor of Among the New Words with Kelly and me. Charles tonight, like he was last year, will be in charge of the polling that we'll be doing. So the vote will happen via Zoom's in-meeting polling feature that worked last year, and fingers crossed that will run smoothly tonight as well. So, and I should also mention that we have Dr. Megan Figueroa, Dr. Carrie Gillen, who are on hand, although they turned their pictures off, but you may know them as the co-hosts of the excellent podcast Vocal Fries. And Megan and Carrie will be live tweeting the event from the American Dialect Society Twitter account. Thank you to Megan and Carrie for taking that on. You'll see that we also have an ASL interpreter. Shirley Jacob is currently doing that. And we also are recording the audio for this, as well as video that will be captured for the American Dialect Society's YouTube channel, so that we'll have a record of this, just so you know that this is being recorded. And we also have the live transcript. The automatic transcript is enabled, and you will find that at the bottom of your screen. If you would like to turn that on, that's available as well. So just looking at the chat, we're talking about the Zoom being choppy and notifications that the live stream hasn't started yet. I hope everyone can hear me relatively okay. So if you're looking for the ASL interpreter, you may need to go to gallery mode rather than speaker mode. And in gallery mode, you'll see that Shirley Jacob has her picture as the ASL interpreter. So make sure you have the right view if you want to be able to see that. Grant, we have 300 participants, and
I'm looking into that now.
Capped.
I'm looking into it now.
Yeah, because we were supposed to have
the large, the 1,000 user cap.
Yes, that's what we were expecting, 1,000.
Yeah, I'm looking into it.
Do I need to make you host in order to check that out, or can you do that?
No, it's attached to large meeting.
Okay, so I'm not sure. That would be a shame.
Hold on, I'm going to make you admin. I don't know if that's going to change what happens to you. I'm going to take host from you. I want you to log out and log back in, and I'll give you host back. Okay.
I'm sorry, you want me to log out of
leave the meeting.
Okay.
And then I'll give you host back.
Hey, leadership gang, I'm just going to say that I'm going to go through and spotlight folks, including the ASL interpreters.
I'm sorry, I believe.
Like literally quit Zoom.
Will he be able to get back in?
Oh, yeah, because there's $2.99. I just won't admit anybody else. Oh, somebody just admitted that person.
Just to let you know, the other ASL interpreter.
Don't admit
is not
anybody else.
here.
What?
The other ASL interpreter is not here either, Jan. She
Yeah.
needs to be admitted.
Okay, thank you. I need to bump somebody from here. Meg, will you go ahead and disconnect then? Thank you. Sorry, we bought the 1,000-person module.
Okay, but now we're getting people coming into the waiting room, including me. So maybe that's the good sign. Are we breaking
if we can
300 now? Apologies to everyone for the snafu here.
Oh, it still says 299.
Okay, that is unfortunate. Okay, yeah. So we should definitely share the
I'm doing it. I'm working on it.
link for, we should get that out on social media as well to hold on, is that the correct link? Okay. Grant, how do you want to proceed right now?
Just
So
start the
can
meeting
we
and I'll
still-
work on everything.
Okay. All right. Apologies to everyone, for the delay here. It's unfortunate that we can't get everyone here, but Grant will continue to work on that. So we'll go ahead and start the meeting. And as I mentioned, Jesse and Kelly will be moderating the discussion. If you do have something that you want to share, you can use the raise hand feature under reactions. And then you can be called on to speak. You can also leave comments in the chat as well, and we'll try to stay on top of that as well. This Word of the Year selection that the American Dialect Society has been doing since 1990 is kind of a marquee event for the American Dialect Society. If you're interested in joining, please go to americandialect.org. I also wanted to thank the people who took the opportunity to donate when they signed up. And if you would still like to donate to the American Dialect Society, that's available on the website as well, americandialect.org/donate. Looks like we're still stuck at our cap, but we should just go ahead and start, I think, given that it's already 5:15. We are going to have a total of 10 categories to run through, and that's including the overall Choice Award of the Year. And those categories have been populated with nominations that were received and that we discussed at our nominating session yesterday evening. Let's go ahead, Grant, if you could, and start sharing your screen, and we can get started. Great. Okay, so you're going to see these various categories here, and we also have this available again on the American Dialect Society website if you want to look at it that way. I can drop in the link for that as well. Sorry, I just lost my screen. Okay, so
Grant, if you could embiggen the text, that would be excellent.
yeah, that would be great. Okay, so we're going to just go through each of these categories, and we're going to end with the overall Word of the Year. I'll introduce the nominees for each category, And then we will have the vote. If there is a case where we need a runoff, which is often the case, if we don't have a clear majority winner, then we'll also have that runoff vote as part of the in-meeting polling here in Zoom. Okay, great. So let's just start right away then with the political category for political word of the year. We've got big lie, propagandistic distortion of truth, as in Donald Trump's false claim that the 2020 election was stolen. CRT / critical race theory. This is a difficult one to give a quick definition of, obviously, because it's been so used and misused over the past year. But as noted here, it's been exploited as a scare tactic by those favoring anti-CRT legislation, so-called. Insurrection, a term for the violent attempt to overthrow the government. As it's been applied to the Capitol attack of January 6th. And mandate, an official or authoritative command, as in politically contentious mass mandates and vaccine mandates. We'll open up the discussion, and Jesse and Kelly can call on people who are raising their hands if you have something to say about one of these. Grant, I see that there was just a message about live stream on Facebook. So that will be another way that people will be able to tune in. Grant, do we have both YouTube and
no, I
Facebook?
wasn't able to get YouTube to work, but I did get Facebook to work. I realized that some people aren't on Facebook, but this will be a stopgap. The link is in the chat. If you want to share that out to people, and if our live tweeters want to share that link out, that'd be great.
Right. So Megan Carey, feel free to share the Facebook link for those people who are unable to get in for this. Okay. So I'll go ahead and let
hello, Jennifer Kramer.
Okay. Sorry. Do we have?
We need to turn off that audio.
Kelly?
I'm trying.
Kelly,
I'm
Thank you so much.
okay, sorry. You were muted before. Jesse, you were too. Sorry again for the technical problems here. So Kelly and Jesse, are you able to see raised hands now? Jesse and Kelly, you're muted.
I'm getting my participant list back up. There we go.
Okay.
I could have seen that. I actually probably didn't need to look to know that it was Sanja who had her hand up.
Funny. Anyway, I just wanted, and I typed this in there, but I should have mentioned this when we did the list yesterday. But my issue with critical race theory, I don't think we're voting on what critical race theory is, because that's not the issue. So I don't think the definition of critical race theory is important. What we're voting on is that people have used critical race theory, which has been around for decades, and distorted it for their own political and other nefarious purposes. That's what I think this is supposed to be about. This is like this, in here you do have this anti-CRT thing. And for that reason, I'm really not for CRT, because I think if you had to talk about this and explain it, then it really detracts from what the real issue is here. This isn't about CRT, this is about racism. And so even having it here is just really problematic for me. But I will speak up for either the big lie, although I saw some objections to that, because we just celebrated a 1-year anniversary of what happened because of the big lie, and why I also like insurrection for that particular purpose. So for me, the big lie is a newer thing. I mean, insurrection isn't a new term, per se, even though we're using it for this particular thing, and I've called it a coup as much as I've called it an insurrection. So I'm going to speak up for big lie, despite what I saw in here about the connotations with Hitler. And please don't give these crazy people any more things to say about CRT, because they're not, if you can't use what it actually is, then keep it out of your mouth.
Just as a reminder
Cassandra.
again, oops, sorry.
Go ahead, Ben.
I was just going to say that once again, just a reminder that when we're looking for word of the year candidates, they are new or newly prominent. So it's okay that we're talking about, you know, words and phrases that have been around for a while, just to answer Joey Stanley in the chat. So sorry, go ahead, Jesse.
I was just going to say, if we capture a hot mic, I will probably mute everyone from my end and then re-ask whoever is speaking. So I will cut in.
I'm pretty sure that person was dialed in by phone, so they won't appear in your participants list. So if you are listening to this by phone, actual telephone, mute yourself, please. We heard everything you just did, grunting as you got in and out of your car and received a package and so forth. I hope it was a good one. You should share it with us later. Hope it was chocolates.
Fantastic. I see a second person in line for the mic, and that is Julie Sweetland. Julie Sweetland, you've been recognized and can unmute.
Hey everyone, I just wanted, all right, am I on? I wanted to build on and maybe nuance what Sandra just said. The use of the term, the appropriation of the term critical race theory is really problematic, but I think what makes it interesting from a linguistics point of view or from a dialect point of view is the way the word was redefined as a catch-all term for any and all discourse related to racial justice issues, and with the intent of chilling that discourse. And so I think if we had a definition that pointed to that, rather than trying to say what critical race theory kind of, what the original intent with that was, like, to me, that discussion is really, I agree with Sandra, it's super problematic. But if we point out the word has been redefined by certain commentators, I think that is, it's in terms of political impact, this is the word that's having the most effect. It is, legislation in 20 states, spilling out of the work in education into states, not being able to spend funding from the CDC because it has the word equity in it around COVID equity, things like that. So it's got a big political impact. And for that reason, I'm in favor of it.
Thank you, Julie. I see another hand from Mariana.
Can't, it took me 3 times to click on the microphone to unmute, sorry. So I am in favor of big lie as the word. I think that's the one that has been, that really typifies what's happened in the last year. And in fact, it encompasses, the big lie encompasses both the political and the pandemic. So I think that it is a good word. I would only be in favor of critical race theory if it were CRT or anti-CRT, because I feel the same way. I think it was Sonja that's talked about the problem with allowing critical race theory to be hijacked the way it has been in this last year. So I'm okay with anti-CRT. I might even think that CRT is okay for the word of the year, but big lie is my favorite. And I think insurrection and mandate, those aren't being used any differently than they their common everyday use. Anyway, that's it. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, so we're getting some discussion in the chat as well. We are going to have to keep to a very tight schedule. Unfortunately, we can get a little more commentary on this one before we start having the vote, but we are going to have to move it along since we only have an hour left to get through our 10 categories. So, in fact, I think it would probably be best to go ahead and start voting on that again, just in the interest of time and getting through these categories, unless Jesse and Kelly, are there sort of final comments that do you want to call on before we do that?
I think we just lost the hands that were up, so.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and open up the voting. Charles, you can go ahead and launch the first poll. So pick one of these 4 candidates. We'll give you time to vote. And again, if there is no clear majority winner, then we'll go to a runoff for the top 2. And I have a feeling we're going to need a runoff for this one.
Ooh, this is so exciting from the host perspective. All the lines are just
Oh,
moving around and going back
Carrie
and
and
forth.
Megan are
Twitter.
doing Twitter polls too at the same time. That's a nice addition there.
Fantastic.
Some people are saying they're not seeing the vote. I'm not sure. It's a window that should be popping up. If you may need to go up to window, let's see, I'm not sure the best way to see it if it's not visible to you. Most people seem to be able to vote though, but
Try leaving full
various
screen
people
mode.
leaving, yeah, that's a good one. Leave full screen mode and Julie's saying no pull through Eventbrite. I'm not sure. Well, we've had 200 people voting, so most people are able to do it. I'm not sure what to say to the people who are not actually seeing it. I'm sorry about that, but if you could try to see if it could be if you're using a browser, is that possible as opposed to the standalone Zoom app? That may change things, like if you had a pop-up blocker in the browser and you're looking at it through the browser, or you're using the standalone Zoom app. Okay, well, if you can try fiddling with your viewing options and getting off a full screen, then you may be able to see the poll that's popped up. We have 204 people voting, 90 who are either not voting or unable to vote. Leslie Barrett says they're able to vote through Eventbrite's poll using Chrome. I'm not sure what the Eventbrite poll is, since we're just using the Zoom. Oh, okay. I think I know the problem then. If people are using the Zoom module within Eventbrite, then the poll may not pop up. So if you are viewing through the Eventbrite event page, then you will need to move to the actual standalone Zoom app. If you can open it up there, then the voting should be available there. Some people still are not seeing it, and I apologize for that. Okay, so again, apologies for those who are having trouble voting, but we will call it now with 204 votes received. That we need a runoff between the top 2 vote getters of Big Lie, which has received 70 votes, and Insurrection, that has received 67. So we're going to relaunch another poll. Charles, if you want to queue up Big Lie and Insurrection for the runoff poll, then hopefully that will work. And we'll continue to try to figure out why some people can't see the poll. And thank you also to Carrie and Megan for running a Twitter poll, which although we can't quite incorporate that, I think, into our voting totals necessarily. It's good to have that engagement nonetheless. Charles, are you able to? I'm pressing share
hold on.
results. Okay, I just pressed share results for the first poll, and I'm just looking at the chat to see if I think the poll doesn't come up if your Zoom is not updated, says Alex Johnson. Oh no, I hadn't thought of that as an issue. So that's another possibility, I guess. If you don't have the latest Zoom update, it's possible that polls won't show up for you. Okay, so Charles has successfully launched the runoff for political word of the year. Your choices are big lie and insurrection, and feel free to vote. See how that goes. I'm letting some more people in from the waiting room who are able to join us because some people dropped off. But we still seem to be stuck at 300, unfortunately. And it looks like we're getting about.
I'm on with Zoom tech support now.
Okay. Hopefully we'll get something by the end of the meeting. And it looks like our voting is approximately the same number of people as in the first time. So again, apologies for those who are finding them aren't able to find the vote window here. But we're going to go ahead and say that insurrection is the political word of the year with 124 out of 211 votes, beating Big Lie with 87 votes. Okay. Sharing results. And let's move right along to the next category, if we could. Digital word of the year. We've got Bones Day, or No Bones Day, prediction of whether a day will be good or bad based on the viral TikTok videos of a very cute dog who doesn't like getting up in the morning. We've got the hashtag Free Britney, which was used for those supporting the release of Britney Spears from the conservatorship that was set up by her father. We've got Horny Jail, an imagined place a person is sent to as punishment for being excessively sexual on social media. And finally, parasocial, describing a relationship that a person imagines with someone whom they do not actually know, such as a celebrity on an online platform. I see some raised hands, so Kelly and Jesse, take it away for the discussion on these nominations.
Katie Carmichael.
Yes, I want to speak on behalf of hashtag Free Britney. It was a really huge deal for, it was digital in a lot of ways, right? There was a documentary and that got a lot of movement online. Hashtag Free Britney has been a thing for a while, but it sort of like became an actual thing in the courts because of all the digital chatter about it that's been happening for years. And now she's free and posting nude selfies, and it's fantastic.
That I want that in the minutes. She's free and she's posting nude selfies, and that's fantastic. Katie Carmichael. All right, thank you, Katie. I want to recognize Blake Zimmer.
Hi.
Turn up your volume, Blake. Can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, that's better.
Okay, I would like to speak on the behalf of Parasocial. So now it's in the 2021 and even going in more recent years of the internet, it's for online celebrities, it's far more easier for them to make a community and fan base, and sometimes they can do it to the point where it feels like well, the fans like the more obsessive ones can actually make them feel like they're like their friends or something like that. And I think I think that is something it is something that I've definitely heard a lot more than like Bones say. I'm not really in those spaces of the internet, so I haven't really heard of that. Free Britney would be like the really feel good one, but I think it was more so a thing for like the certain time span that had happened, and I'm not gonna talk about the other one, but parasocial is the one I think was used the most like digitally because of the impact that creators who try to forge those relationships have been, and how that action specifically has been getting attention.
Thank you, Blake Zimmer of Jersey City, New Jersey. Who else would like to speak on for or against any of these?
Hello,
Go ahead.
who is it?
I recognize Gretchen
Oh,
McCulloch,
this
and I'm
is
going to
really a
find a
bad
hot mic.
time. I'm sorry, bye.
Hot mic.
Hi, I'm saying this on behalf of some people who are in the Slack chat, pointing out that girl boss, especially in the trifecta gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss, was prominent this year, as well as the feminine urge to and brackets Taylor's version. So I don't know if we want to try to include all three of those, and girl boss is not necessarily new to this year. One could argue that it's newly prominent, but I just wanted to mention those from Elise Endley in Slack. Didn't know you were in here. Hi, Elise. Great nomination.
Okay, so just letting some more people in. Welcome for those of you who are just joining us now. The cap has been lifted so that we can let in more than 300 people, which, so glad to have you all. We've already done the political word of the year. We're on to the digital word discussion, and we just had a comment from Gretchen about whether at least girl boss, I guess, ought to be added as the digital word of the year, as well. And there were some other suggestions there as well, like Taylor's version. We were trying to keep the number of categories here, a number of nominees in each category in the neighborhood of 3 to 6. We have 4 here. We could add a couple more. How do people feel about just adding girl boss and let's say Taylor's version as 2 additional ones? Would that be? Oh, I'm sorry. There was also the urge to one. What is there a general feeling on? Sorry.
I said, does that go in digital?
Which one? Okay, so yeah, Kelly's shaking her head on this too.
I'm not allowed to be talking. I'm so sorry.
You're totally allowed. All opinions allowed.
Yes. Okay. Well, the question though too is, Charles, if you're prepared to actually add things to the poll, would that be too much of an
poll? I have the poll open. I just need to know what you're adding.
Okay. Let's go ahead and add those suggested ones, and then we'll go ahead and open the voting system. So let's go ahead and add girl boss, as well as sorry. Yeah, I mean, there are people saying that that's not digital, and Kelly was making that point too. But we were also getting suggestions for the blank urge to. That blank can be filled by feminine. Let's just leave it at that. And I don't want to get too caught up with adding new items to this list again in the interest of time. So let's just add those and go ahead and launch the poll whenever you're ready, Charles.
And girl boss, is that just girl boss or hashtag girl boss, or what is it?
Just the Ben Zimmer urge to launch the poll, says Neville.
Emmy says hash. Is that correct?
Okay. Let's go ahead with that just for its true kind of digital form. And with the voting has opened, so please go ahead and For those of you who have just come in, hopefully you are able to see the poll. We're still getting people coming in from the waiting room since we've lifted the cap. Aaron Dinkin complaining that it's just a frame. I think, you know, we're pretty for the blank urge to. I think that phrasal templates, snow cones, why shouldn't we allow those to be nominated as well?
Can I just make a request? In order for the ASL interpreter to be seen, probably as many people as possible need to turn off their video so that her video will appear on top of the shared screen.
Also,
Well,
Ben, if you will please add Kyle Duarte to our list of co-hosts, our other ASL interpreter.
Okay.
I can do that. Ben, if you
Yeah,
want
I
to
can't
continue.
actually do that now, I think.
All right, 87% of the votes are in. The poll's been up for a minute and a half, so
Okay.
I'm going to close it.
Okay, so we're going to close it and share the results. We've got 39%. That's 125 votes for hashtag Free Britney. And it's close for second, but Parasocial is second. So let's go ahead and do a runoff for Free Britney and Parasocial as our top two. As we continue to let some more people in, Charles will be doing the runoff there between Free Britney and Parasocial. Bones Day / No Bones Day just missed out on the runoff. Sorry to Noodle for that. Okay, so go ahead and vote for one of the two items in the runoff, either Free Britney or Parasocial.
Those screens are just popping up too fast and they're interfering with my ability to type. Can you give me a reading? Can I get numbers on what we're voting on here?
Sure. The runoff is currently showing, so I don't have the numbers for the other ones, but that should be, Charles, is that something that shows up in the poll history? I think I don't have the numbers on hand.
I can show them in a minute, but I can't show
Okay.
them right now.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to call this one with Free Britney winning with 68% of the vote, 215 over Parasocial as your digital word of the year. 215 votes to 102 in the runoff out of 317 total. Okay, so Grant, that was 102 out of 317 for Parasocial versus 215, the winner, Free Britney, out of 317.
Right, but we're doing the first vote, second vote is what that slash is.
Oh, I see. Gotcha. Okay. Let's go ahead to the next one since we're really running behind at this point, given our various technical problems. So let's try to move quickly through the remaining categories. Grant, if you could scroll down to the next category. Okay, so we've got the special category that we also had last year as well, the pandemic related word of the year. And we had lots of good suggestions for this that we tried to incorporate in this category. We have boosted, having received a booster shot as for COVID-19. That's the most popular way to say that, to get boosted, to be boosted, but we also see boostered and boosterized as other possible forms of that. Breakthrough, describing an infection as from coronavirus after a person has been vaccinated. We put Delta and Omicron together for the Greek letter names that have been assigned by the World Health Organization for coronavirus variants of concern. We've got long COVID, lingering symptoms and health problems experienced by people after they've recovered from COVID, variant, a new form of the virus resulting from mutations, and vax with 1X or 2 as the shortened form and often used as a combining form, as in anti-vaxxer, etc. Lawrence suggests the alternate British spelling there of boosted. So let's open up the discussion for this category. Go ahead. We have people who want to speak for and against any of these.
Recognizing Emily Curtis.
Comment. I vote we go with variant so that we can use that in our linguistics teaching. We'll get an analogy out of it. Although I do also like Worcestershire shot.
Can you speak closer to your microphone, please?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, flip it down. Okay, I was trying to be quick. Yeah, I'm going to vote for a variant maybe so that we can use that in our linguistics teaching. People will kind of get a sense of what it means to be a linguistic variant or variation or variety. But I might give a second to Worcestershire shots.
Okay, next.
Recognizing Alex Johnson.
I'm going to vote for long COVID for the simple ironic humor of the fact that COVID has been much longer than first expected, but also for the kind of greater disability management discourse that's going to grow out of long COVID and its effects worldwide. Although I did want to shout out something in the chat that legitimizing vax gives us a great Scrabble term. So 2 points.
Fantastic point. Recognizing David Yantz.
Hi, thank you. I'd like to put in a word for vax, just besides the Scrabble thing. I think it encompassed really the pandemic itself, but also the divisiveness of the whole thing and how it somehow became a political issue, and that word kind of wraps it all into one.
Thank you, David. And recognizing Peggy Weil. I think.
Maybe having trouble unmuting. Is there Peggy?
Are you hearing me?
There you go.
Okay. I nominated variant.
Okay, did you want to say something about it? Hello?
You know what? I was signing on for my husband. We've been trying to get on and on and on. I've been trying for half an hour. So I'm going to grab him real quick.
Okay, well, we need to keep the conversation moving quickly. So,
yep. Recognizing Byron On, and Peggy, if you come back, you can raise your hand again if we still have time.
I think that variant will be used in its new way for many years. It sort of encompasses Delta and Omicron and all the other things. And also it's going to have a lot of staying power in future usage in this way. Vax has been around for a while in anti-vaxxer movements before this. And so I recognize that, and I think it's great, and I love that word, but I think variant is going to have more staying power with its new usage.
Where did it go? Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Byron. And Sandra.
I'm going to go with boosted, even though I use boostered, because that's what made sense to me. And part of the reason is we're past vax now. Like now, it's not just have you gotten vaccinated, it's have you gotten boosted, right? So I'm for, and actually, I think that actually takes us towards moving forwards instead of looking back. So right now, we need everyone boosted and not just vaxxed. So I'm going boosted.
Grant Barrett is taking matters into his own hand and adding flu-rona, the blend of flu and corona, to our category. So Charles, please make note of that in the poll, that we have a late-breaking nomination here. Others who want to speak, go ahead. Jesse and Kelly.
I think I've been unmuted here.
Lynn,
I'm going to put in a plug for Breakthrough, because I think that this is going to be a continuous kind of concern throughout this next year, and it sort of defined people's concerns about last year and the various variants and things like that. So that it is a word, I think, that definitely defines last year and will be continuing to define the pandemic next year.
You're telling me.
All right, maybe one more comment before we move on to the
I
voting.
try again
Okay,
because of my microphone. So voting for variant, I think it reflects the continual readjustment we have to make. We think we're in one place and then there's a new variant. And so it reflects our resilience, the need for adjustment, looks to the future. And I think you can also apply it to politics later on, like the Cruz variant or the McConnell variant. So it has some other uses going forward.
great. Okay, I see there are a few hands up, but we really need to be moving along. So I think that we should go straight to the poll here. Charles, if you got it, there you go. Okay, so Charles has boosted, breakthrough, Delta/Omicron, long COVID, variant, vax, and the newcomer flu-rona as your choices. So fun watching these votes come in. This was a tight one here. And we're getting more participation now, which I think means that more people are able to actually see the poll. So that's great to see. Almost everybody looks like they're able to vote.
I'll end the poll in a minute.
Yeah. Okay. So we will just do this as ending at 1 minute. So get your last second votes in now. Okay, so we are going to have a runoff between the top two vote getters. Boosted with the 108 out of 341 votes, and Variant with 102, very close between those top two vote getters, beating out the other ones. Vax coming in with 78, long COVID 23, breakthrough 16, Delta/Omicron 10, and I'm sorry, Grant flu-rona only getting 4 out of the 341 votes cast. Charles is busy putting the runoff vote together for boosted and variant. So we'll get that one coming up next. So you'll be able to choose one of those two as your pandemic related word of the year. And there is the poll. So go ahead and vote. This again is our third category out of out of 7. So we are really going to need to speed up the discussion a bit for the remaining categories if we want to have any hope of finishing not too close to 5-minute linguist.
You say that as though we think 5-minute linguist is going to start anywhere close to on time.
You know, that's a good point. That's a good point. As long as you're here, Jesse, yeah, we've got you anyway. But no,
that's
yeah,
right,
Jesse
they
will
can't start without you.
Yeah, well, Jesse will leave when she needs to, and we've got Kelly obviously helping out too with moderating the discussion. So Jesse,
Final results are up.
Final results. Boosted is your pandemic related word of the year with 192 votes out of 331 cast, and variant coming in second with 139 votes. All right, moving right along to the next category. We've got another special category. We had a whole bunch of words suggested for the sort of financial and economic terms for the year. There were a whole bunch in addition to this that were suggested, and we again just kept it to these 6 so that it wouldn't be too big. But we've got the Great Resignation. I'm not going to read through all of these definitions in the interest of time. You can read it on the screen, but we've got NFT, of course, standing for non-fungible token. We've got another abbreviation or an acronym, actually, SPAC for Special Purpose Acquisition Company. all the rage these days with companies going public. Stimmy as a shortened form of stimulus to refer to government stimulus checks. And we heard that it can also be used as a verb. Stonk as a deliberate misspelling of stock used by online day traders for their investments, especially for meme stocks like GameStop, which was rechristened GameStonk. And finally, supply chain, not a new term, but certainly newly prominent in 2021 for that global system of supplying goods and services that it's been put in jeopardy by the pandemic. So let's have a brief discussion, if we could, on these nominees for the financial/economic category.
Great. Blake, Zimmer,
Hi.
you've been recognized.
Hi. So I'm not just going to speak for anyone. I just want to speak against stonks because yeah, it does represent the GameStop thing, which is pretty big. But the reason why I'm speaking against it is because I will permanently associate it with Elon Musk in my mind, and I really hate it.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Next, who do we have?
Gretchen McCulloch.
Hello. I want to speak in favor of supply chain, especially a word that's had a new definition, because while it's been in use for a long time as, relating to this interconnected global system, specifically people were using supply chain as a shorthand for supply chain disruptions or supply chain issues. And so you'd see, empty shelves in a store, supply chain, not supply chain problems or something like that. So it's got this sort of additional meaning that's become prominent this year particularly.
Yeah, some people in the chat are pointing out because supply chain became a popular thing to say this past year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or if you would go to a store and ask what's going on, they just say supply chain, not something shorter.
Great. Maybe let's do one more comment before voting, so we really want to move things along.
Lois Burke.
Lois, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
There you go. Okay, go
I want to
ahead.
vote. I'm voting against stonk. It's not an American word. It's a British word, like stonking, meaning lots. Don't like it. NFT, nobody will ever remember. So I'm going for the Great Resignation.
Thank you for that. Although I think that the playful misspelling of stock as stonk may be completely unrelated to the British slang term stonking. So
That's stonking annoying.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and do the vote for this. And also if you could unmute for anyone who's got their microphone on. We're going straight into the vote for financial/economic word of the year. You've got big resignation, NFT, SPAC, STIMI, stonk, and supply chain. We will keep the voting open for 1 minute. Still waiting to see if any of these categories will not need a runoff, but it's difficult when we've got categories like this with lots of nominees. And welcome again to people who have just been coming in from the waiting room, and apologies for the delay in getting everybody in. But we had to deal with a cap on attendance that shouldn't have been there. Now that cap is gone. So we're happy to have more people joining us for the vote. Coming up on a minute, so we're going to close it now. And the results are, we've got the top two vote getters are supply chain with 133 votes out of a total of 340. And second place going into the runoff will be that should say the Great Resignation. Great Resignation, obviously on the model of the Great Depression and the Great Recession. So we will fix that in the runoff between supply chain and the Great Resignation. Great Resignation has 98 points. NFT comes in with 50 points. Votes. I don't know why I switched to points all of a sudden. Everything's gamified. We've got stonk with 32 votes, 26 votes for STIMI, and a mere 1 vote for SPAC. Poor SPAC. So Charles will get the runoff together for the Great Resignation and supply chain, and we will have our runoff vote for those two. Okay, there is your runoff vote between the Great Resignation and supply chain. And Stonks is the loser here in this category. Don't tell Elon Musk. Okay, looks like we've ended the poll already, Charles, is that right? Yes, we've ended
I
the
did
poll.
not end the poll. Someone else did. I don't know who's clicking.
Did someone press end poll among our co-hosts? I'm not sure, because yeah, it should have run a little bit longer. I'm not sure if we can get it restarted again. If not, we may need to go with these results. Charles, is it possible to keep it going, or no? Are we? Okay, I'm sorry. Vote again. We're rerunning the runoff, and we'll get everybody's votes this time. All right, enough with the voter suppression jokes in the chat. Every vote counts. Every vote counts. Okay, we're getting very good participation in this one. Should be stopping this soon, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stop it because
Go
that's
ahead and stop it.
91
Okay.
is how much we get.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so the winner for this category is supply chain with 194 votes out of 342 total. That's 57%. The Great Resignation coming in second with 148 votes in the runoff, 43%. All right, we are going to move right along to the next category. In the informal word of the year, this is what we're calling this category now. We've got a few choices here for you. Chuggy, as it's typically pronounced, although I guess I've heard chuggy too, or your vowel may vary, but I think chuggy is the more typical pronunciation of it, as this term that Gen Zers are using to poke fun at millennials and their basic or off-trend lifestyles. Down bad, used to describe intense, typically sexual desperation. Flop era, a time in which a person such as a pop star enters an unsuccessful period. We've all been there. And then finally, yassify, to apply image filters to a person's photo to transform it into a cartoonishly beautiful image. There's a yassify bot on Twitter which does this, and people have talked about yassification. Okay, so those are our choices for the informal word of the year. We got some complaints about the definition of yassify. If you want to chime in with any nuances that might be missed in this definition, feel free. We've got some hands raised, so go ahead.
Ruth Ann Hughes.
Hey, I would like to speak for Chuggy. My Gen Z students do use it. I had 2 students who didn't know it in one class and everyone jumped to explain it to them. But really what I love it for is it's a real life frindle. I don't know if you guys read the book when you were children, but that's what introduced me to linguistics, and the fact that like we just make words. Humans just do that, and humans did it here. It was a word that a girl in a high school in California used with her friends, made it up out of nowhere, had no etymology beyond that, and then TikTok made it go worldwide. So I vote for Chuggy.
All right, thank you. Who's next?
Bethany Gardner.
I definitely want to see age data about this, but I'm against Chuggy because it's odd, because I've never seen it in the wild. The only time I've seen it is people complaining about it. So I've like seen the like, we hate this new word, but I've never actually seen it in real usage. But again, that's generational. From a zillennial perspective, we're awkwardly in the middle.
Okay, yes, so there's various chuggy discussion going on in the chat. It seems to get a lot of people animated, whether it's an inside job or psyops or whatever you want to call it, but got on people's radar in April when Taylor Lorenz wrote about it for the New York Times. And sorry, let's get like one more comment before we go ahead with the vote. And again, please unmute if you're not
Gretchen?
speaking.
I think I got asked to mute. Yeah. So I'm gonna speak against Chugi, or if we're going to include Chugi, we should add an amendment that much of the use of it is ironic or questioning or dubious, which might be one way to sort of square that circle. Personally, the one that I've seen people use sort of non-ironically or non-meta commentary is yassify, and the other ones I haven't encountered, but I may also be old.
And people are pointing out in the chat that Yassify also has a more general meaning beyond just the, like what the Yassify bot does. And so that's the sort of the meaning, the basic meaning that was extended in various ways, and obviously based on Yas Queen. So let's see, I think we actually, unfortunately, need to go ahead to the voting now. In the interest of time. So Charles has launched the poll. Please choose from one of these 4 candidates for informal word of the year. Ooh, we might actually have a clear majority this time. This is exciting. Anytime we don't have a runoff means more time to talk about other things.
I think we have some undecideds. We're only 83% participation.
Some people, I think, are just not satisfied with these choices, I guess, and are abstaining. It's okay to abstain if none of these move you. But we're coming up on the time, so we're closing the poll, and we actually have a clear winner. The majority winner, Yassify, wins with 164 out of 315 votes. 52% is a majority, beating out Chugi, which got 111 votes with only 35%, followed by Flop Era with 24 and Down Bad with 16. All right. Excellent. So we can move along to the next category. Grant, what do we have next? Euphemism of the year. Okay, so in the euphemism category, we've got election integrity when it's used as a euphemism for voter suppression. We have glizzy as a slang term for hot dog, which has also been used other ways euphemistically. Let's go, Brandon. We're all too familiar with that playful euphemism used against Biden. TFG as one that as a way of avoiding saying Trump's name and even avoiding saying the former guy, which is something that, yeah, sorry, that should say fuck Joe Biden. Yes, that's thank you for the correction there. And then finally, unalive, which has been used as a substitute for the word suicide because the word suicide often gets blocked on social media filters, I guess, like TikTok. And so apparently people have been saying things like, I want to unalive or things along those lines. So let's hear some discussion about any of these choices.
Anne?
Hi, I am a member of Gen Z, and I have witnessed the usage of the word unalive on social media. I was just wondering if we could amend the definition of it to just be about death in general, because people seem to use it to talk about death and dying for both natural and unnatural causes, and not just for suicide. They would probably say unalive myself if referring to suicide specifically. Okay,
so we can amend that so that it's a term that's used. Perhaps kill is also something that's prone to being blocked by social media filters, not just suicide. But in any case, we'll note that as another use of unalive euphemistically. Other comments? Do we have someone ready to go?
Matt, Angel.
Hi, I'm going to be voting for unalive because not only is it a creative use of morphology, but it also is used to discuss topics that are very taboo and can be triggering to a lot of people in a way that makes it safe for them to talk about these issues. And so that is why my vote's going to unalive.
Okay. Let's do one more comment again, because after this, we still have 4 more categories to go. It's people pointing out in the chat that election integrity can be used non-euphemistically as well. Obviously, it can. It was nominated in its euphemistic usage. So keep that in mind with your voting. Do we want one more comment or one more quick comment? Someone wants to speak? Who do we have?
Harry Cooper.
Harry Cooper.
Oh, hi. Yes, I would. I'm here. I'm coming at you from Washington, D.C., and I hate to be a homer, but I do believe the term glizzy originated around the D.C./DMV area, so I might have to go with that. As to the others, TFG, I think maybe if chosen eventually should maybe be amended, because when I listen to Joe Biden's speeches, he usually says the former president, not just the former guy. Unalive.
He did actually say, yeah, he did actually say that in a CNN town hall, which is what inspired the abbreviation. So I'm sorry to cut you off, but we are going to actually need to go straight into the voting now because we're desperately behind time. So Charles, if you could go ahead and launch the poll for Euphemism of the Year.
Yeah.
All right, get your vote in for election integrity. Glizzy, Let's Go Brandon, TFG, or Unalive. Euphemism is always a kind of an odd category. Yes, that's it. All right. Kind of bad. Okay, so the poll has ended, and we've got, Unalive in first place, but not quite with a majority. 152 votes out of 324 is only 47%. So it's going to face a runoff. Unalive against election integrity, which had 81 votes, followed by Let's Go Brandon with 50 votes, TFG with 23, and Glizzy with 18. So Unalive and election integrity, we'll do a quick runoff for that. Thank you, Charles, for getting that loaded so quickly. Get your vote in quickly too, so we can move right along. Okay, let's get those last votes in, and we'll be able to close it up soon. Okay. All right, we've closed the poll, and Unalive is the euphemism of the year. 198 votes out of 320 gets you 62% of the vote. Election integrity coming in second with 122 votes in the runoff. All right, moving right along. Got a few more categories that we are going to need to kind of speed through as much as we can. So we've got the most creative category. And in this one, we've got chin diaper, referring to a face mask worn below the chin instead of properly covering the nose and mouth. Copium as the blend of cope and opium. Core, we've seen a lot as a combining form, but it keeps being productive and keeps spawning all of these new aesthetic trends. Corp core, manticore, goblin core, so many cores. Old core. Oh, just old, says Grant. Yes, it's been around for a while. And then the rhyming phrase Fauci ouchie for a COVID vaccine in honor of Dr. Fauci. Quick discussion for or against any of these?
I recognize Pearl.
Yes. So I nominated copium, which I see very often on Twitch, among other places. And I have noticed that things that come up on Twitch and Twitch chat, and not just in the chat, but from the content creators themselves, tend to spread wider. And it's kind of perfect. My spouse introduced it to me when someone was talking about how my kid's school was supposed to be better, but it's so crowded. So it has so much use and I love it.
Great.
Alejandro?
Okay.
Hi, I just want to pop in and say I've only seen Fauci ouchie in like a derogatory context or trying to get around censors by people who are anti-vaccine or don't believe in COVID. So just something to think about if you're voting for it.
Sonda.
So I like chin diaper because I'd never heard of this before, but it gives me a word for all of those people I've seen at the airport. Like, it's been 2 years, people. Why can you not learn how to put this mask on? So I like chin diaper. I do like copium, by the way, but chin diaper actually gives me a word to use now. And I can talk about people without them necessarily knowing that I'm talking about them.
And Dan.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak in favor of Fauci ouchie. I've seen a lot of people in the chat saying they've only seen it in a positive context. I think it's kind of fun and playful while, describing something incredibly important. And I'd like to point out that the 3 phones that are shared between the first and second word are all spelled differently. And I mean, that's just linguistics gold, right?
All right. I think we need to go ahead with the voting for this category now. So let's open up the poll. Your choices are chin diaper, copium, the old standby core, and Fauci ouchie. It's like another tight vote here. Got 3 running kind of neck and neck and neck. Okay, we're going to be closing the poll soon if you can get your votes in. Okay, so for the most creative category, we will have a runoff between chin diaper, which got 98 out of 317 votes, so for 31%. That will be in a runoff with Fauci ouchie edging ahead into second place with 89 votes. Copium received 85, sorry, copium. And finally, core received 45 votes. So let's go ahead and set up a runoff quickly between chin diaper and Fauci ouchie.
Y'all don't even know how close this poll is. We're just watching this fluctuate back and forth as chin diaper wins, and then Fauci comes out in front, and chin diaper goes and pulls ahead. It's just crazy how close these are.
Yeah, this is our closest one yet for sure.
My gosh.
And down to the wire, 100% answered.
Yeah, if you haven't voted, hurry up.
Yeah.
We need it. Your vote does count.
Hey. Wow, it was
It's
very
so
close. All right, so Fauci Ouchie wins by a nose, 154 out of 302 votes, 51%. Chin Diaper losing out with 148 votes. Very close, very close. Okay, moving right along. Let's move on to the next category. Okay, so we've got some interesting choices here that ended up in the most useful category. Some that are old, some that are new. Bussin', as people have pointed out, is not necessarily a new slang, but was prominent in 2021, meaning extremely good, such as food that is indescribably tasty. Seeing wider usage in the past year, although not new to 2021 by any means. Hard pants, pants that lack an elastic waistband or stretchy fabric, unlike the soft pants that we've all been getting used to in front of our Zoom. Tone indicator as a term for these codes like /SRS or /LOL, indicating tone of online discourse. And vibe, definitely not a new term, but prominent in various ways in 2021 for a mood or emotion, such as the positive feelings evoked by a piece of music. And I think Grant may have missed an addition to this, which also had it as a verb to mean to exult in one's good feelings. So consider that as well in your consideration for vibe and its usage in the past year. Again, things can be newly noteworthy even if they're not new to the past year. Discussion on these? Oh, Kelly, are you taking over?
Yeah, Benjamin?
Okay, go ahead.
I think the tone indicator is definitely something that I've seen online a lot recently, but I think that it's more the slash than the word itself is what's prominent. I also think that vibe definitely is something that's in the youth a lot. I'm in Generation Z, and I think it's been around before, but it's really become an everyday part of our language.
Great, thank you. Who's up
Rachel?
next? Good.
Hi.
Oh,
Sorry.
echo.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Good. Okay,
That's better.
sorry. I was just thinking about against for vibe. Looking up It's a Vibe. Song came out in 2017. I know that we're saying it can be reused when it comes out in the new space, but I don't necessarily, I think it's been consistently used over the past few years. I don't think it's so novel to this year.
Great, thank you.
Aspen?
Aspen, if you want to speak, you're still muted, it looks like. Maybe we can come back to Aspen and go.
There we go.
No, there we
Sorry, I was getting the don't have permission to unmute error. I would also say against vibe for similar reasons. And then for tone indicator, again, for disability and language accessibility. And I also wanted to throw out that I've seen them called tone tags as well, rather than just tone indicator, if that wanted to be included in the terminology of it.
Okay. Yeah, some people are saying that the slash itself can be the tone indicator rather than the full thing. Let's get one more comment before the vote.
Byron?
Yeah, so I wanted to say in favor of vibe, I know it's not new, but I also think it has gotten picked up in new ways. It's also linguistically interesting because of all of the new frames it gets used in. You hear people saying it's a vibe, be vibing, be out here vibing, blank vibes. It's picked up a lot of steam lately, and especially used amongst a lot of young people. And I guess I include myself in that, but maybe wrongly. I think that it's got a lot of usage.
Great. Okay, let's go right into the vote then. We'll open up the vote in the most useful category. Bussin', hard pants, tone indicator, or vibe. Make your choice for most useful word of the year.
Okay, almost done. Get your vote in.
Get your vote in for one of these choices. Looks like we're headed for another runoff though. Okay, so we have as the top vote getter, but not with the majority, is Hard Pants with 124 votes out of 322. That gets 39%. Coming in second place and in the runoff is Vibe with 89 votes, followed by Tone Indicator with 78 and Bussin with 31. So Charles will be setting up a runoff between Hard Pants and Vibe for most useful word of the year. And there's your runoff. Please go ahead and vote for one of those two choices, Hard Pants or Vibe, for most useful. I love all the discussion in the chat. I love how animated people are getting about their choices. Ricker says hard pants are not a vibe, but Nicole says hard pants are a vibe. So who knows? That's the big question. Okay. Well, we're going to be closing soon, but it looks like most of you have gotten your votes in. All right. Hard pants is your most useful word of the year with 55%. That's 178 votes out of 322 cast, beating out Vibe, which got 144 votes. All right, moving right along. We have most likely to succeed, and that's our last one before the big category. We are going to be running over, but let's try not to run over by too much. Again, we've got 5-minute linguist starting at 7. Most likely to succeed. Here are the nominees. Endemic, for disease that's always present, which we may be hearing more of, referring to COVID, of course. Mid, more Generation Z slang of an amorphous or fluid nature. It could mean average quality, it could mean poor quality, it could mean decent. Who knows? Well, if you're Gen Z, you may know. NFT, we've seen this in a previous category, and it was nominated here as well, although some may find it least likely to succeed. Again, try to separate the word from the thing that it denotes. Sigma male is a term for a male who's more introverted than an alpha male, but still considered successful. More terminology coming out of the masculinist manosphere. And finally, shrinkflation, reduction of the size or quantity of a product while the price remains the same or even rises. Which of these do you think should be voted as most likely to succeed? Let's have a little bit of discussion.
Dave?
Yeah, I'd like to speak up for shrinkflation because it has a actual very useful economic sense that I think goes beyond just this particular year. I think it'll continue to be used, at least in economic circles. I'd also like to speak against NFT because I think very quickly that's going to be labeled historical use in dictionaries as NFTs are simply a Ponzi scheme.
Okay.
Mariana.
I'd like to speak in favor of adding the Great Resignation to this list because economists are already using it. It's very prominent, and I think it's going to continue. These other words, endemic has always meant endemic. Mid may or may not succeed. I agree about MFT. Sigma male, never even heard it. And shrinkflation is okay, but I think the Great Resignation is the way to go.
Okay, so we have a couple of suggestions for additions to this category, and I'll make the decision. We should add Great Resignation, and another one that we're getting quite a lot of buzz in the chat for is anti-work. Charles, if you don't mind adding the Great Resignation as well as anti-work. And if anybody wants to speak on behalf of anti-work, since it's a new edition, and I'm seeing lots of people in the chat, if you want to jump in quickly, if anybody wants to speak on behalf of anti-work to say why that should be. Does anybody
How will I know who it is?
Okay, yeah, I guess we we can't know. Let's see. I'm just trying to see people in the chat who might be able to speak as well. Brianne Hughes linked to the subreddit Anti-Work Unemployment for All, not just the rich, a subreddit for those who want to end work, are curious about ending work, want to get the most out of a work-free life, et cetera, et cetera. And this is a trend that is apparently popular in the past year. So
if no one is speaking up, I'll speak on behalf of Anti-Work.
Oh, please do.
So it's the term, it's basically rocketed to prominence because of the way that they organized around the Kellogg strike. And so I think this has just really started a movement that it's not just, you know, it was probably a fairly small subreddit before, but they were prominent in doing things like sending fake applications for the scab jobs for strikes. And I think it's going to continue to be like a really an organizing thing in addition to just a general thing that will succeed. So I think it will succeed.
Okay, great. Thank you for that explanation. Kelly, you want to call on maybe a couple of more folks before we vote? Sorry, I'm not hearing Kelly. Are you there, guys?
Hello.
Oh,
Hey. I wanted to speak on endemic. I'm not sure for or against, but I wanted to point out that the discussion about endemic is going to become much more of a thing now with the Omicron waves, because the Omicron variant waves, because more people are going to be talking about, oh, is this something that, you know, we're going to have to live with, blah, 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 blah. It was discussed in 2021, but depending on how you are judging your vote for most likely to succeed, it could be something you think should be 2022. Or, you know, you might want to say 2021 leading into 2022. So that's my 2 cents for that.
Thank you. I'm just also picking up in the chat, Kelly Kendro and Rick Erdockham both pointing out that anti-work is more about refusing exploitation or fighting work exploitation. So that's a nuance to consider there. Okay, so since we are going over and we still haven't reached the main category, I'm going to go ahead and have us vote now. We could obviously talk about these for a while. Charles, if you've added those extra ones, you have. Excellent. Okay. The voting is open for endemic, mid, NFT, Sigma male, shrinkflation, the Great Resignation, and anti-work. Looks like those new additions to the category are attracting a lot of interest. All right, get your votes in. Okay, so we are going to have a runoff between the two additions that were nominated from the floor. Anti-work currently leading with 34%. That's 109 votes out of 319. That's followed by the Great Resignation with 89 votes, 28%. Not making the runoff are endemic with 62 votes, shrinkflation with 28, mid with 15, NFT with 11, and the poor Sigma male with 5. So we're going to next have a runoff then between the Great Resignation and anti-work in the most likely to succeed category. So just waiting for that. There we go. Charles has launched the runoff poll. Get your vote in now between the Great Resignation and anti-work. This is
And
going
it's
to be
another
close.
horse race.
Yeah, this is going to be
They're
very
going
close.
down to the wire. They're neck and neck, coming around the turn, coming around the bend. Here it is, Great Resignation, written by Ben Zimmer, who's a new jockey this year.
Well, it's always interesting when the new nominations spark interest and get people
If we were to talk about who sired the Great Resignation, or the Great Resignation out of pandemic.
Oh, I see. We're gonna keep the metaphor going. All right, get your last votes in, but it looks like we have a slight favorite here. Okay, anti-work pulled ahead. Anti-work with 165 votes out of 318, that's 52%. The Great Resignation getting 153, very close, 52 to 48%. Okay, well, that was good. And we're actually moving on to our main category. We filled this out again with nominations from our nominating session. And we've got Big Lie. These are all things that we've seen before, so I won't bother defining them again. You've seen them already. Big Lie, Great Resignation, Insurrection, Long COVID, Omicron variant, and Vax. Okay, so we've got 7 choices here, and let's have some discussion for what people think the overall word of the year should be. Got some hands up. Yeah.
Okay, I would like to speak on behalf of the Great Resignation. I think that this one is characteristic of 2021 in that there was a definite paradigm shift about the value of our collective labor in late stage pandemic capitalism, that our minds, bodies, and times aren't dispensable for somebody else's bottom line. And we saw that with staffing shortages and massively effective strikes, that these big companies don't run without the people working in them, despite what they tell you about the robots replacing us. So empty shelves and these long lines are forcing us to think about the people that make things happen more than that label essential worker, quote unquote, ever did. And so, you know, people are reclaiming their time, and I think that's great. So I think that this may change when student loan repayments start back up and tax credits end, but I'm glad that 2021 was able to empower us in this way. So I'm here for the Great Resignation, and I hope that it has staying power as a socialist. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Asia. Who's
Harry.
up next?
Oh, hi. Yes, I would like to speak against insurrection for this reason. I can see why it's been nominated, but I feel like it's not quite a strong enough word for what actually happened on that day. To me, what happened on that day was an act of domestic terrorism. Like insurrection, I don't think quite does it justice. The word that I nominated, or maybe someone else did as well, is Omicron. I'm starting to regret that since that only kind of refers to one variant, but I guess that's the one I would favor, just
Okay.
personal bias, but yeah.
Thank you, Harry. Let's keep the discussion moving.
Sandra?
So in the past, we haven't had at least I don't recall having a pre-populated word of the year category. It usually comes out of having done this. And so I think by having done it this way this year, for example, the Great Resignation already lost in the category. And I agree with what Aisha said, but I think anti-work reflects what she said more. I agree with, I think it was Barry or someone who just spoke, my issues with insurrection, because I think that doesn't quite cover it. So I'd be interested in seeing, based upon who's here today, what words people really think are word of the year, because now we've already had a couple of comments saying, I don't think that's really good, or we've had some votes that clearly indicate that that might not be the way that we'd want to go.
Okay, I will note that this is, I believe, the 3rd year that we've done it this way, where we've pre-populated word of the year rather than just having open nominations during the main event as a way to save some time. But that does not preclude us from nominations from the floor. So Sandra, if you believe that—
Not so much, I just think there are probably some words on here that probably don't need to be on here at this point. Like, I'm not sure that, well, I don't want to say necessarily which words, but other than, like I said, I think the Great Resignation with thinking about anti-work just one in that, but that's just kind of how I saw it. Yeah.
Okay. And there's also nothing wrong. I think this has definitely happened before, where a word might not actually win a secondary category, but then ends up winning word of the year. It has happened before, so that could happen with the Great Resignation. So, okay, let's get a few more comments. Well, Grant is Googling the big quit as another term.
Okay. Hi. I just want to speak in favor of insurrection. I know that it's not necessarily as strong of a word as we want to use, but it's a word that a lot of mainstream media refuses to use about what happened last year around this time. I think that especially the LSA and ADS being held in DC, this is a really, I think strong statement that we can make about something that frankly, historically is going to hold on and have effects way more than, well, maybe not more than the pandemic, but like in combination with the pandemic. And it was really a huge event that defined the trajectory of 2021 and will affect the trajectory moving forward.
Okay, thank you, Katie. A couple more comments.
David Yance.
Thank you. Yeah, you know what? She just basically said everything I was going to say. I totally agree. I don't understand the points that it's not a strong word. I mean, to me, it's more chilling to me than domestic terrorism. It kind of sounds even more violent to me. But yeah, I agree. I mean, when Kamala Harris said December 7th, September 11th, and January 6th, that struck me as very powerful.
Okay, thank you. Kelly, did you want to call on yourself? It looks like you have your hand up.
Yeah, I do. I would like to speak if I may, but
Go ahead, absolutely.
yes, thank you. Yeah, so I nominated insurrection. It's the only word I've spoken about online. I think it should be the word of the year for the reasons that Katie and David have mentioned. Sorry, I'm shaking. I think it is because of what it means for a word to be prominent. For this word to have happened, to have become something that emerged in our usage, really speaks to what has happened in our American politics, in our moment, in the world. And so I think that it really reflects what is ongoing. It wasn't just a riot. It wasn't just a terrorist attack. It was the breakdown of our democracy. It was a sitting president challenging the peaceful overturning of power in this country and asking his supporters to take over the capital of the United States of America. And so for us to say that that's not an insurrection, that word isn't the most important word of 2021, I know that we try not to be political when we choose this word, but I just can't imagine another word that is more prominent or important for 2021. And that's my opinion. And now I've shared it. Thank you for letting me do so.
Thank you for sharing it. And you can go ahead and call on a couple more folks before we go ahead and do the voting in this category.
Yeah, Lois.
Hi, I want to speak again in favor of the Great Resignation. I don't want to minimize insurrection, but I think Great Resignation will be something that the history books use going forward. That's it.
Okay, let's have one more comment before we do the voting, since it's already 6:46.
Mark Allen.
Mark Allen.
Yeah, I think insurrection is probably the biggest event of the year, but it is not my choice for word of the year. I think the vax came in 2021. We really started talking about it, and we started making up different terms based on vax last year. I think it peaked early, so maybe we're forgetting that, and it seems sort of old hat now. But I think if you look at the full year, vax is the most prominent word to define the last year.
Okay, before we vote, I think we just need to decide whether we have a groundswell of interest in adding anti-work to this category as well. Grant, I see you're adding it. Is that based on?
Yeah, I'm raising my hand even though you can't see it.
Okay, go ahead, Grant.
My basic belief is as soon as I flashed up word of the year on the share, the word anti-work flooded the chat, and it's been popping up again and again. I appreciate what Kelly's saying, and I am behind her 100%. And as soon as she becomes a general, I will march in her army. Whatever she's leading, I'm behind her 100%. But I just thought it needed to be in here. I saw enough people talking about it. I thought it needed to be here. It might split the vote, but we're bound to have a runoff anyway. So let's put it in here and see what happens.
Okay, yeah,
Are
I
there
see some
words though that we
opposition.
really don't need in here, like long COVID, variant?
Well,
I mean,
Sanjay,
I'm just
I think that
with
those will
all of
just not
these
get many
words.
votes. Those will not get, those will not get many votes in the poll. So I don't know if we need to worry so much about that. Okay. We're going to leave the ones that we have, and let's go ahead and add anti-work. For those of you who are opposing that, then go ahead and vote for Great Resignation or anything else. But let's add anti-work to the poll, which Charles can then vote, can then launch. Okay, so you've got your choices here. Big lie, Great Resignation, insurrection, long COVID, Omicron, variant, vax, and anti-work. This is very interesting. I guess you can't actually see how the votes are coming in. People are suggesting ranked choice voting. That would be great. Next time, maybe next time we can do ranked choice.
First past the post, and it's the cause of all our problems.
Jesse, what are you still doing here? You got to get ready for 5-minute linguist.
I put on makeup and everything. I'm ready to go.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Well, thank goodness we're finishing at least a little bit before 7 o'clock. All right. So we are getting close. You got to get those last votes in as we get to the 1 minute mark. We are going to have a runoff, but it's not the one I would have expected. But here we are with insurrection with one. Please unmute if you're possibly still. I'm sorry. Please mute if you're unmuted. Insurrection coming in first, at least so far, with 118 votes out of 327 casts. That's 36%. But it's going to be in a runoff with Vax, which got 71 votes for 22%. That ran ahead of the Great Resignation with 59 votes, followed by Variant with 33, Big Lie with 19, Anti-Work with 18, Long COVID with 5, and Omicron with 4.
They're asking for a top 3 runoff. Is that okay?
Well, the only problem is that may not have a clear majority, but in this case, we would be doing it with insurrection, Vax, and the Great Resignation. Sure, let's do top 3 just to keep those 3 in the mix, because I think there were some good arguments for all 3 of those. And let's see what happens with the top 3. Charles, if you don't mind doing that, insurrection, Vax, and the Great Resignation. And we will do that as our second vote. I wish we had ranked choice here, but we'll see what happens. I'm curious to see what happens with this, if we get a clear majority or not. This is more very interesting voting here. So did someone end the poll? The poll
Yes.
seems to be ending.
Somebody accidentally ended the poll early. You're going to have to restart that.
Please restart the poll, Charles. I'm not sure how that's happening. I
Y'all
don't
need
think
to
that's
vote
any of
again.
us. Yes, so please vote again. That was a premature vote. See, now that we're accepting the top three, the question is, if there's not a clear majority winner, do we still declare a winner of the top of the three?
Yeah, the problem is
Do we
it's gonna
do a
be
second
runoff
runoff? Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
it's gonna be runoff between the same two.
Yep. Okay, so this was all very interesting, but it has not changed the results, which was in that insurrection and vax are still our 1 and 2. So the Great Resignation is coming up short again. So we're going to do the final vote. Insurrection had 140 in this, vax had 107, Great Resignation 70. Let's do one final vote, just the top two, insurrection versus vax, as the final vote of the evening at 6:52.
This is going to take me a sec.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, we added this wrinkle which messed up Charles's very carefully laid out plans for runoff voting by adding a second runoff. We've totally confused the matter. So we'll just wait for Charles to get that last vote together. And while he's doing that, I just want to again thank everybody who showed up. You all rolled with the punches and all of the technical issues that we had. Again, apologies for people who were not able to get in at first. And here's our vote: insurrection versus vax.
And I want to thank Megan and Carrie of the Vocal Fries podcast, which you should totally be subscribing to if you're not subscribing to it. They've been live tweeting this whole thing with their big hearts and great spirit as always. And so thank you to both of them. This is their first time out, and I think they've done a fantastic job.
Yes, and thanks again to Kelly Wright, Jesse Greaser for moderating the discussion so well. Thanks to Grant and Charles.
And to Shirley and Kyle, our interpreters.
Yes, thank you.
Shirley and Kyle, thank you very much.
Much appreciated.
Yeah.
Okay,
without
so
Jesse and Kelly, we wouldn't have been able to do this today.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And Charles,
Okay.
thank you so much for running the polls.
It takes a village, but we got it done. Okay, so here we are with a pretty close vote. Insurrection is your 2021 word of the year. 169 out of 321 votes cast gives it the win with 53%. Vax coming in second place with 152 votes, 47%. And that's it. We are done. Thank you, everyone, once again for coming out. You made it another memorable experience. Hopefully we can do this all in person next time for real. And thanks again. You'll see you all in a year.
Don't forget that the LSA's 5-minute linguist comes up immediately after this. So tune into that. That is not a part of ADS, but Jesse Greaser will be hosting. There are a lot of great talks that have been carefully prepared by some excellent linguists who are going to thrill you with fantastic information. So do tune into that.
Yes, starts in 5 minutes for those of you who are can get over to the LSA online platform like me, since I'm one of the judges. So I'll go ahead, Grant.
You should, if you're subscribed or if you've registered for LSA, you should have a link already. It's part of their whole streaming system.
Absolutely. Okay, thanks everybody. We're saying good night.
Bye-bye.
Grant?
Yes, sir.
If you want to see the numbers, if you click on the polls and go to the edit button, it'll take you to a browser page, and all the results are showing there.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Okay, we're gonna shut down the Zoom now, right, Grant?
Yeah, we'll shut it down. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate the lovely chat. Oh, the energy in the chat makes it so worth it. I'm so glad to see so many familiar names and faces in here. I'd love to see our fellow podcasters, including Beyond Language and Enthusiasm and others, and Nancy Friedman of the word crafting blog. That's the name of your blog, Nancy? Something like that. And Mark Allen of ACES and so many other people.
I'm out of here. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.